Hey guys, just want to give an update on the 2021 riding season. So I was in the market so I had a motorcycle before. It was a like an older version of the Ninja 250. I liked it, but I'm a smaller guy, and at that time it was just a little bit too big for me. Right now I think it'll be okay, but one of the problems with older used bikes is that they're carbureted, and everything I've owned so far has been carbureted, including the motorized bicycles. So I'm just kind of obviously not the car, but I'm just kind of sick of the carburation, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I decided to go with the 2022 Honda Grom. Right now is basically the end of March. Um, the U.S. is expected to receive this beginning in May into June. I talked to my local dealership, and they're thinking beginning of June. So I'm on top of their reservation list. They quoted me as $38.50 out the door, which is a pretty good price considering some of the other places around me. So this dealership is going to be in the city of Milwaukee for me. I live on the outskirts, and the outskirts is like literally $500 more. So it's going to be inside the city, so that's probably why it's a little bit cheaper. And I talked to those guys there; they're pretty nice, so I like to do business with them. Um, yeah, so I decided to go with the 2022 Grom, and instead of the 2020, I actually did sit on the 2020 Grom here. They had like a cyan color at that dealership, which is really the color I like and prefer. But one of the problems is that, if you take a look at the Kawasaki Z125 and the Grom. Um, they're kind of the same bikes, but I would say the Grom has a little bit of advantage over it in terms of just general specs and quality of the parts. Apparently, is also a more expensive bike as well. Though in Wisconsin, apparently they don't think that's so. You can find Z125s more expensive than the Groms, which kind of doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I sat on this bike and so the reason why, okay, so right now it's the beginning of April. Um, sorry, almost the beginning of April. So I have April and May and possibly half of June. So that's like 2.5 months of riding that I can't do because I'm waiting for the 2022 Grom. So I could just buy the 2020 Grom now. The reason why I'm not going to do that is because number one, I don't like the seat. When you sit on this, you're sitting like right here, like you're kind of leaning, you're kind of really into the machine. Versus, I like to sit more on top of the machine. I like the sit of the Z125s. Oh, yeah. So I like the sit of the Z125s a lot better because you're pretty much sitting on top. You're sitting right here, versus the Grom you're sitting like right there. And the seat's also more flat as well. But that's not the issue with the 2022 Grom because now they came out with a flat seat, and of some initial reviews of it from some lucky YouTubers, they've said that the seat is very very comfortable. And I just like the fact it's flat because I don't like to sit right here. I like to sit more like right here um, on a bike, on any bike, personally. And the other reason why I decided to go with the 2022 Grom is that it's just very different from the 2020s or the second gen. Oh, I'm just gonna say second gen. This is the third gen Grom. Um, it's very different. Like there's a couple things. I'm not a great mechanic. The first thing is that it actually comes with a oil filter versus the oil spinner that it has before. And there's a couple advantages to this. The first is that it's just easier to change the filter. The second thing is that it takes some weight off of the inside the engine too, so it releases some of the burden from inside the engine. Um, so it goes. Now, obviously, the ground will go a little bit faster with that. The second thing I like, the second huge change is that now it has a 5-speed transmission and a 38 tooth rear sprocket versus the 34. what that means is that, and obviously I'm not the best motorcycle rider or whatever, is that it just has more pull through one, two, three, and fourth gear. In your fifth gear, you can just kind of like idling or not idle. You can just like cruise in the fifth gear. So it has more pull to get you. It has more pull within each gears, and it's also in the fifth gear. It will allow you to cruise at a decent speed. Um, so initially, I didn't think that was really good because I'm like, okay, it's a 125cc engine. How much is a fifth gear really going to help? And here is also another difference as well. The compression is now apparently a 1 pound more than the previous one, and the stroke is longer, but the bore is less, so it creates more torque and more power. Apparently, again, not quote me. I read this from, I watched this from a different YouTube channel website. The guys looks pretty credible. They know what they're doing. They know how to take apart a bike and dyno and everything. They're saying that it makes about 1 to 2 horsepower more than the 2020. And so if you take a look at the 2020 and people, what mods people do with it, they change the exhaust, the intake, they change the CMU or the fuel system, um, at a minimum to get to pretty much what the 2022 stock is going to be. And just from watching some videos, overseas videos of people riding this bike, there, there's a heavy set guy, much heavier than me. I'm short and light. He was pulling well into the 60s as a heavy guy on the track. So with me on it, it would easily do 60s. Um, in fifth gear, I think, and that's definitely enough. But if I were to buy a 2020, I would have to do all those mods, which is probably another $500 to $1,000 to get it to that level. Not to say that I won't mod the bike when I get it. No, it probably wouldn't be the first season to. I probably won't mod it in the first season because it'll probably take time for people to come out with different mods or different parts for it, because the parts are not most parts are not interchangeable between the 2020s and 2022s. So that's another huge thing. So I mean, it's just overall, it just seems like a better bike. So the payment that I have to do is, and also in terms of quoting the price, it's the same price between the two. Uh, no, the base MSRP is the same, and that dealership is not going to be an asshole like some of the other dealerships that I've talked to here in southeastern Wisconsin. Where it's brand new, I'm gonna add an extra $200 for it, but the MSRP is literally the same. So this dealership that I'm going to buy from, they're not going to do an asshole thing and be like, oh, hey, it's brand new, so I'm gonna charge you extra $200 for it. Okay. So that's it. And the last thing is the looks. Obviously, they look a lot different. This has more of like a retro. I would say I'll call it a retro modern look, versus more of a street bike, like sports bike fighter. Now, obviously, I like the lines here on the 2020 a lot better than the 2022s. But from what I've heard of people who actually seen the bike in person, it's a lot nicer than what the pictures show now. So I'm okay with that. And also in terms of the coloring, I'm getting this color because the dealership I'm buying it from, only they said this color is only gonna be available this year, not the gray. So there's two colors in the U.S. supposedly that come out, the yellow and the gray, and then there's also like a premium one or something like that. That's a different color. So what else can I say about this? That's a little bit different. No, yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. Also, a very minor thing. It's a 1.6 gallon versus a 1.5 gallon now. Maybe that extra zero point 0.1 gallon will help you. Though the fuel efficiency of this bike is so good anyway. And so, okay, so now I really have just about a month and a half or 2 months to wait for this. I'm hoping that the timeline would be about a month and a half, but realistically, it's probably gonna be 2 months. Hopeful thinking is somewhere. Well, hopeful thinking is like the the 3rd of May right there, but that's probably not gonna happen. Um, so what I'm gonna do in between then is I'm just gonna ride my e-bike. I need a the e-bike has some problems. The battery is not that great. I don't think the BMS is working entirely correctly on it. I had a couple issues with it last year. Maybe I fried the BMS already, or I don't know. So, but the battery capacity is so high on it, so I at around 3 kilowatt hours. That I think for the what I was going to do is I was going to redo the entire battery again and just put in a voltage checker, sell a voltage checker. But I don't think I'm gonna do that because I'm only riding it for 2 months. I think for that 2 months, I think the battery is gonna hold up, even if the cells are somewhat unbalanced. I don't think it's gonna go too much imbalance. And I'm not gonna charge it all the way to full as well. I don't think it's gonna go too much imbalance during that time. So so that's the thing with that. Yeah, so for the 2 months, I'm just gonna ride my e-bike. I'm going to redesign it a little bit because right now, in the previous season, I had it basically attached to straps and tape and everything like that. So that's pretty crazy. I'm gonna make a proper wooden a wooden uh, mount for it that's detachable for the battery, that so I can easily service the battery. And obviously somewhat waterproof. Waterproof as in it's light rainproof. Um, and also makes it look a little bit nicer as well. And I did buy a. So I'm still going to use the e-bike now and then, even when I do get the Grom. But I'll probably. So the other thing is why what I'm such a huge proponent of electric bicycles and e-bikes and stuff like that. And why am I getting a Honda Grom? And actually, maybe I'll talk about that in a little bit versus the e-bike. But the short thing is that I like to do a little bit of touring on this, and also just yeah, you can't ride your e-bike in the middle of the street, and you know it's not, even if you could, it's kind of dangerous on faster roads to do that. And I'm just tired of riding on the side of the street and getting flat tires and stuff like that. Um, but I'll still ride my e-bike. Obviously, I love the e-bikes. I just don't. I just I think right now is just a really good time for me to get this Grom. So that's the update in terms of like the riding season. Obviously, this winter it's been pretty harsh, so I haven't gotten any riding done or anything like that. Um, so now that I have it, or now that the season's coming in, um, gonna work on that. So I'll make another video about updating the e-bike probably sometime next week. I'm expecting the liners on the 31st. So this weekend I'm off. So I'm probably gonna work on the mount on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, get that all done and painted, and then Wednesday I should get the liners and then put in the liners, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I can start riding on it then. After a couple tests, obviously. Um, yeah, so that's the update. Hopefully 2022 Grom coming up, and then once I get the Grom, obviously I'm gonna get a better camera, so I can do some deeper reviews of the Grom and see if it's as good as people say it is, in terms of like the performance and the looks of it. Obviously, the looks are subjective. I don't mind it. I prefer the previous look, just looking at it at the moment. But people say that it looks a lot better in person than it does in the pictures. So yeah, so that's the update. Looking forward to the riding season. Looking forward to do some touring. Talk to you guys later.